There is a lot we have had. Not today. Are we streaming live again? So I don't have to do this. To the refuge, the mighty crown. God's grace, marvelous grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Marvelous grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Marvelous, infinite, matchless grace, freely bestowed on them who believe, with a longing to see His face. Will you this moment His grace receive? Marvelous grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Marvelous grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Beautiful. Thank you for singing so lovely. So, in the morning, we talked about how the virus is transmitted or spread, right? I want to say one or two things about preventing it. So we also were able to establish that really the biggest percentage of people who get infected, it is through the sexual route. So that means that one of the ways to prevent the disease is by having what are they called? Safe sexual habits. So if there must be sexual intercourse, there must be safe. That is, it is with someone who is not infected. You are very sure about that. Or with protective measures. So they are, I think, the protective measures which have proved they are the condoms. I know it is church, but I've stopped there. So the other means is to be faithful. Like you know, for those who are married, now that we are in church, for us, we advocate for heterosexual marriages. One partner, female with male. So one person, you stay faithful to that person. We say until death does you part. So if death takes that person away and you must get another one, still to be opposite sex, one person, you stay faithful. As a church, we say no extramarital sex. That is the stand of the church. That is the standard. That is the stand of a good moral community. So again, that is to prevent the infection. And then we say no to premarital sex. You're not married, no. Until you want, if you can't wait, get someone, marry, and then you can keep faithful to that person. That much. The other bit is those who are infected should stick to antiretrovirals. So if you stick on antiretrovirals, you bring your viral load to even 0. We say suppression. When they check, they say undetectable. Those people, their chances of transmitting, they are still low. If so often, especially, this works for couples which are discordant. We call them discordant. When one is positive and the other is not positive. The other one is negative. So in that case, the one who is sick is encouraged to stay on the medicines such that the viral load comes as low as possible. But oftentimes, it is also good for them sometimes to use protection. But if they want to have children, they can have a window of trying without protection, and the chances of infecting the other party are low. But also, the baby, in case they conceive, the chances of that baby getting sick are extremely low. One of the ways we do is to encourage the mother to keep on medicine. The other thing that we advocate for is safe male circumcision. So safe male circumcision also reduces the risk of getting the infection. It does not protect you against the infection. It only reduces the risk. Make sense? Then the other things you hear people talk about post-exposure prophylaxis. So in the event you think you have been exposed to a situation which poses you a risk of getting infected, say now that I'm in church, you are attending to someone who has HIV, they have a wound, you're caring for it, you probably put on gloves, but you also have a wound on your hands, then from nowhere you realize the gloves are torn, and then there have been mix of body contacts of their wound and yourself, and you're suspicious. Maybe that is a little bit far-fetched. Me who is a doctor, I'm doing my surgery, I'm working on someone who is sick, infected, and from nowhere I cut myself, or I prick myself with a needle, or I'm injecting someone. After injecting them, or putting a cannula for a nurse or someone else, as they put it somewhere, they prick themselves. So they have been exposed to a situation that is likely to cause them, they get infected. So those people can be given what we call post-exposure prophylaxis. So there are tablets, they will give them to you. You take them for a window of 1 month, and then we will check again. Or, unfortunately, you have gone up country fields, you are busy doing, and somehow, God forbid, that you get raped. Now that we are in an evil world. Or whatever circumstances that expose you and someone rapes you. So they should give you post-exposure prophylaxis. But there's also what we call pre-exposure. So pre-exposure, you anticipate that I might get exposed to a situation which risks me to get infected. So you take some medicines before you get exposed to that. But that is not good language in church. In church, we should protect ourselves against situations that keep us at risk of getting infected. For us, we have said we will abstain as long as we are not yet married. When we get married, we will stay faithful, and by the grace of God, we will marry those who are not sick. Because in church, all of us, we are good, we are safe. So, now the first question. Before I ask you, where is the first question? I have seen. This is a young man. What? There's the gentleman there. Give him the microphone. So we will take a few questions to answer a few.
Doctor, during Divine, you talked about the situation of the married couple, the youth, saying one was positive and the other was negative. And you talked about something like elders advising maybe if they resist to go ahead and do it and get married. So how would those people live? Do they come to a conclusion that maybe one will have to infect the other and life moves on, or such a situation of the couples you talked about during Divine?
Like 1, 2, 3, then we can do. Yes, Mukade. Mukade is asking you.
I'm very skeptical about HIV. Why have I started like that is basing on the fact that there are some theories of deliberate maneuvers to depopulate, especially the third world countries. And if you look at the statistics of the prevalence of the disease, yes, it's also existent in the Europe and America, but you find that it's mostly significant in Africa and maybe Asia and some part of the South America. So my question, there's a theory that says this was manufactured in lab, and personally, I really don't believe that there's no cure of AIDS. Me, because where the drugs come from, it's not a problem. Yes, there could be some whites with AIDS, but it's very rare to find them. So question 1, I want you to answer the theory or the conspiracy theory of the AIDS prevalence and the population agenda. Then 2 is the aspect of what you've talked about, mass male circumcision. In some countries like Tanzania, it's mandatory for every male child must be circumcised. It is a law. And could you give us some statistics? I know Uganda, they have done some research, especially in Rakai, and some, especially Makerere Water Read Project, where they're doing some kind of research. Could you give us some facts on how male circumcision can be like some kind of a preventive measure based on scientific studies to show that actually a person who is circumcised has higher chances of not getting the disease, even if they're in contact with an infected person. The last question would be on the cases, I don't know that we call them discordant couples or discordant or repellent people. You find this person is a carrier in your medical science. He has the disease in themselves. When they test, they have the disease, but they cannot transmit this disease to other people. And then finally, there's this myth. Some people can apply. I see some, the myth. That, for example, if you had unprotected sex, maybe you bathe immediately after sex, it can help you. Some people even go ahead of smearing, is it Vaseline or what? Are these things working? I'm pausing for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder. So, I think Elder sets it well. Now it looks like people will be free to ask. So, and again, thank God I had made my disclaimer. I said if I don't have all the answers, I will say so we call them discordant couples. So a discordant couple is if I am married to someone and I am positive and she is negative. So we are discordant. So if we are going to stay together and we are going to be engaging into sexual intercourse, number one, the one who is negative stands a risk of getting infected. So where is the duty of the church elder who is seeing this young couple coming? Number one, you want to make sure as an elder that these people know the fact very well. So because people live with HIV and live life expectancy, there is a lot in life. Now this is me thinking. There is a lot in life beyond being infected. So for me, if I meet a young lady and a young gentleman who are determined to stay because they have a lot they think they can reach out in life for, like family has a lot beyond disease. It's possible we can live without getting sick. Because people live with HIV when they are born, they picked from their mothers, and they live till 70 years. So there is no way that should be a reason that stops me from marrying someone in whom I see other important values in life. So if these people come to me as assume an elder, my duty should be, number one, to establish that there is a lifelong fact of a risk for you who is negative to turn positive. But this one who is positive has a big duty to play to minimize the chances of the other one becoming positive. So then they have to support themselves. One, they might be forced to reduce sexual intercourse without protection. At times they might be doing protection. And the other one who is infected must keep on medicine forever. So he or she is doing medicine for herself, but also for the family. And the conversation of pre-exposure prophylaxis also comes in. So we might say that if we want to keep the risk very, very minimal, when you think you want to conceive and you're going to do without protection, then we give you an injection or a tablet, you who is negative, to protect you because we know you're going to be exposed. So we do pre-exposure prophylaxis. And if there is that moment when you find yourself, and then the next you wake up, you can do post-exposure prophylaxis. So this conversation, they must come to them. And for me, if these people understand this, they say, Musumba, there is a lot in this person beyond HIV. This person is seeing the world the way I see it. We envision that we can turn this world around, other than going and marry someone who is going to throw me around the next morning in the name of living this one. So the duty of the elder is to throw this knowledge to these people and then give them time to decide. But if I am the one who is negative, and after all that I'm like, the truth is, me, I thought when she's on medicine I am safe, but if I'm not safe, I am not willing to take that risk. So I confess before my friend, may God find you someone else. Me, I fear. Me, I do what? I fear. But if I am the one who is negative, I'm like, you know what? With all these things, we will go. Let's try our chances. But even if I get infected, we will both take medicine and live 40 years from now, but achieve what we see in ourselves. Because, like I said, family and life on this earth we live is way beyond. Because people get married and the next morning the other loses the leg. Sometimes when they are coming from honeymoon, they get an accident, he loses the leg. So what? So the eye goes. So even the infection can be managed. So that is how discordant couples must treat themselves. So the duty of us who have knowledge is to first assume that these are young people who sometimes come and tell us, elder love is blind. And they are moving because the love is what? So at that time, you first open the eyes and they see well. And when they have seen well and things are good, so they should be held accountable the day they come and their baby is sick with HIV. That means they either went to wrong places seeking care or they were negligent. Because this is a lady who should not say, nze nzaayira wa maama eriye waffe ekyanga bakama gye ngenda wenfuna olubuto ngenda mu kyalo kuzaala. This is not the lady who should do that. She needs to be in very good hands, being cared for with the objective to protect the baby, such that 20 years down the road in the family there is only one person who is infected. Or, God forbid, if on year number 5 in the journey, the other one also turned positive, there are only 2 people who are infected. So that is how we deal with discordant couple. But I have seen quite some people who are discordant and they are still living together and they have children. But also, there could be situations when people want to really minimize. People might also choose to do protected sex all through their lives. And when they want to do conceive children, they do use what we call assisted reproductive technologies. So they can do what we call artificial insemination. But after they do that, even this, because when we do artificial insemination, we only pick sperm cells. There's ones we do that. And so there are really, really big barriers of protecting these people. So when we do that, we have cut the risk significantly. But also when we can't afford those ones, we can say we are going to do protected intercourse. And when we think we want to conceive, we do like 2 months. And then that time I will be doing pre-exposure prophylaxis, me who is negative. Or I will be doing post-exposure. So that knowledge must sink. When it sinks down, and she knows or he knows that at any one time when I turn negative, positive, I am not going to turn around to my friend and start eating her up. That one I walked in knowing that we can do everything, but there is going to be that unfortunate moment when I turn positive. And when I turn, I'll be like, my darling, it has happened. Let's move on. We embrace care and all be well and enjoy life as we envisioned when we started our relationship. Population agenda and cutting Africans. Those a lot significant. I hear them, but this is what I know. For HIV, for one to get infected with HIV, you must get in contact with a body fluid which contains the virus. So you will hear a conversation. Does kissing cause HIV? So the contact you talk about, there must be break It must be a wound. So the skin or the surface, the membranes that cover us, the number one protection or immunity we have is our skin and these covering surfaces. So it must break. So when that barrier is not broken, even if you shower me the blood of an HIV person, like I do like this, I have no wound, and you pour me their blood, I will not get infected. So it is the reason doctors, we work every day. It is, even when you put on gloves, it is so, for me on my good day, it is very rare that the day will end when blood has not hit my body surface somewhere. So as long as I don't have a wound, I will not get the virus. And that's where the science of viral load works. So if your viral load is negligible, but when they look in the machines, they can't see it, it means that the load of the viruses I get exposed to when I get in contact with your blood is down. And when this virus gets exposed to the environment, not even 5 minutes, it is done. It is dead. So that's where the science comes from. So when this skin is broken, the science tells us that there are some specific receptors or receivers. I think I can use this bulb holder. If I change this bulb holder, this bulb will not be in. It is specific for this bulb holder. So there are those holders which receive HIV as it is making entry into one's body. Now, we have, I think we call it CCR X4 and CRR, something, really, I would be a big liar if I can quote the specific things. But it is believed that those are in given groups of people, Africans being one of us, that we have them more than those guys. So that means that even when they get exposed, entry of the virus for them is not as easier as it is for us. But for the black and Asians, we have those receptors more than them. We also have what we call a GP120. It's another receptor again, which has been demonstrated to not be as much as it is in them. And people will argue and say, that is their research. They are using those things to hoodwink us. But also the thing is, the same people who have done those researches, they have also done researches which demonstrate that they have more some particular diseases more than us. Like there are diseases which are specific and common to them compared to how they are common to our side. There are cancers which we find more frequent in the group of their descent, their origin, compared to how we have, and the explanations we have is, again, the genetic molecules. So really, the conversations are not going to end today, I know, but in that regard, that is how but also, for us, we have a little bit of traditional practices we hold which expose us the more. One, we do cut our bodies everywhere as and when we want. We mark people as we want, we circumcise as we want, we detooth people as we want, we do female genital mutilations as we want. So all those things risk us. But again, as we do them in rudimentary ways. If I'm going to circumcise the group of 6 boys, I just need to be a brave man instead here, one by one. One by one. So all those things expose us more than them. And unfortunately, we seem to hold them dear to the extent that we still have a percentage of a number of women delivering from homes, yet the hospital is the next door. The conversation is, Mama gundi yange yankunzaza, nawe yajo kuzaza. So we still hold those things dear. So those practices still beat us. Those guys embraced some of these things. They also do their ugly things. They are doing most of other forms of sex more than us, and so they also suffer their own ways. But some of those things speak against us. Now, safe male circumcision. I think the study was done by a gentleman called Professor Nelson Sewankambo from Rakai. And he was able to demonstrate that it reduces the risk of one contracting the disease by approximately 60%. So that is to say that if I got exposed, and he was talking about sexual transmission. So that is to say, if someone got exposed through a sexual intercourse with someone who is HIV positive, their chances of getting infected, if that person had been circumcised, reduced. How? One, we say that we need infection to happen when we have a break in the skin. So when someone is circumcised, their skin tends to get, we call it keratinized, it hardens. So chances of breaking are significantly brought down. But also when the people are circumcised, the hygiene is good. When hygiene is good, there is no infection. An infected place gets broken easily. So that also helps significantly. It is the reason it also contributes to reduction of possibilities of transmitting HPV, a virus which is a cause of cancer cervix because of the same argument. So we improve their hygiene. And again, it speaks of Africans. It is us who are dirty. Civilization comes with cleaning. So before we got civilized, we used to be dirty. So we would get infected. Heard of Ndwade Zabazira? So that was our daily bread. We would work with Ndwade Zabazira. So when you go there, when you have Ndwade Zabazira, you come out with, the chances of getting infected are higher. So when we circumcised people, Ndwade Zabazira and etal came down. And then the risk comes down. But it doesn't protect you. Yes. I hope that sort of answers Mukadde. So, as long as your skin is broken and it gets in contact with a fluid which contains the virus, whether you shower jik, whether you steam, whether you fumigate, whether you do what, you will be infected. It takes a virus to attach to where there is a broken wound. So instead of running to shower everything you want to shower, run to the pharmacy and buy antiretrovirals and start post-exposure prophylaxis. Because that's the reason when we test you for today, and you are negative, we come back sometimes 3 months later and we test, because the disease takes time to establish itself in the DNA and it becomes unbreakable, like never going out with you. So that is where the time when the ARVs work, before it integrates itself in the DNA such that it won't be reversed. So it starts by attaching on those membranes the receptors I told you of CXR4 and the others, GP120, and the others which I've forgotten. So that sequel takes some time. But you can't fight it by washing. You can't fight it by smoking or whatever. No. So when it starts, you run and get antiretrovirals. That's why we say that the earlier the better. Because when you take the drug, it goes in the stomach, it is broken down, it is absorbed in the blood system, then it is supplied in the blood, it starts reaching everywhere. Imagine if I open a canister of tear gas here and I put it, it will take me about 5 minutes for everyone on the other side to start sneezing. So that's what we're doing with the antivirals. They take time, they build in blood. So by day number 3, when the virus is still going its journey, whichever blood is reaching any part of the body, it contains that antiretroviral, and it is able to terminate the process of integrating itself into your DNA. And when we come back 1 month later, you'll be negative. 3 months later, you'll be negative. We declare you safe. Makes sense? So please, instead, when you get exposed, whatever form of exposure will be, don't run for JIC, run for antiretrovirals. They will save you. So that's what we do for us in medicine when we seated there as colleagues and you're conversing. Some of the questions we ask ourselves, how many times have you taken post-exposure? Because it is daily bread. We cut ourselves as we do these things. We prick ourselves. Before you know it, splash in your face. And it is in your eyes. You're like, I'm better taking these antiretrovirals for 1 month, then I test again. And they are surely protective. I have seen colleagues of mine who have taken, and we don't know if it was them or what the prick wasn't significant enough to cause the disease to take charge. I think I have answered what was asked. Someone has another question. So, is there another question apart from him?
They just wanted
Yes.
Your recommendation, basing on a combination of intervention or combination of what we're supposed to do. Because I know there are some people prefer some intervention than others. But for example, if that study, Professor Campbell, is actually tested and proven, can we have it as one of the measures that we can promote that every male person circumcised, then alongside other measures that you can recommend, so that you can stand a higher chance? Because as you said, one person may be faithful, but we are in a fallen world. Anything can happen.
Thank you, Elder. So Elder, I want to start with this. If you had to put the study in context, the study was really in a general population. General population, a place which had been, I think this study area was more of Masaka region because that's where the disease had been, but they have scaled it to different countries. But I want to start by saying that for church, now that I'm speaking to church, we shall not compromise. For us, our stand is people abstain. People abstain until marriage. That is the safeguard for church. I have been laughed at in my life when I talk about abstaining outside there. Like people look at you like, which continent are you coming from? Like, look at this pretender. So for me, I stand bold in church and say, church, we must abstain until we get married. And it is unacceptable for a church member faithful. No, that pretense is the real pretense, other than us who are told there, we hear those conversations when we get out. And sometimes we even speak and people want to spit in our faces when we are speaking to our friends. Wow, Olimba, it's not possible. That outside there. But for church, we are saying, people, it is not acceptable. We will never ever accept as Christians that we will say it is understandable that you are unfaithful. No. We will not understand, and for Christ's sake, church must abstain and be faithful. Now, the study was coming in the context of the community where you and me come from. So for those people, this is what the study does. The study, ideally, we are saying that it should be, and it is good that every male person is circumcised. Because number one, we have relieved him of the burden already. We have reduced the risk. So that to say, if he is immoral today, chances are high that he's at 40% of getting infected. So if by God's grace, by 40%, he doesn't get infected. If he comes again like that. So at every exposure, it only reduces the chances of getting infected by about 60%. But they're doing the study in a community where you don't tell them abstain, in a community where extramarital infidelity is every day, everywhere. So there it is good that everyone gets circumcised. But again, even I think in the Bible, circumcision was encouraged so much. So again, for any young man, as long as they grow up, it is good they get circumcised. Like I said, it improves their hygiene. It protects them against other sexually transmitted infection other than HIV. It reduces the risk of transmitting the virus HPV, which causes cancer of the cervix, but also penile cancer in men, and also causing another HPV causes warts, and all those things. So circumcision as a practice is something that we, from a medical point of view, but also from a social point of view, strongly encourage. But for church, people abstain and be faithful.
Thank you very much. My question is, what happens to the virus or the load when two infected people get exposed?
When people who are infected when you get you get intercourse with someone who is exposed, HIV doesn't double. HIV is the same. So you still stay infected, and the viral load is only suppressed by the drugs. So whether you get exposed to 100 people who are also infected, as long as you take your drugs, the virus goes down. And this is what happens. When the virus keeps coming up and going higher and higher, it keeps knocking different cells of the body. But importantly, it prefers the soldiers of the body, the immune building cells, those which fight against diseases. Those ones have specific receptors, especially the GP120, which it loves most, where it goes. So it brings them down. It breaks them down. So if you have ever cared for someone with HIV, you used to hear conversations of, let us make a count of their CD4. So CD4 are some of those markers which show the ability of the immunity, the strength of the immunity. Trying to really break down these things for understandable language. So that means that imagine if we are a territory here, and all these people on the walls here, they are our soldiers who are protecting us. So anyone who wants to eat us away should not struggle to reach here. Just be on the corner here. Knock him, knock her, knock everyone on the walls who is our protection. And when those people are knocked, the rest are nothing. So for you, so that's what the disease does. The disease knocks away the disease-fighting agents. And when they are knocked down, everything else is walking through. You get a flu, it's like you have got the worst thing of this world. You get a small wound, it's like zambas. You get malaria, it's like you have got everything. So everything like that. When you get a small diarrhea, which should be one day and goes away, you dilate for 6 weeks. When you get a small ulceration on your eye, you get a big wound on the eye. When you get malaria, you get close to ICU. Like everything treats you very, very bad. Why? Because the defenders were taken away by the virus. So at that time, you have what we call the syndrome, which is AIDS, acquired, meaning you just got it. You never had acquired immunodeficiency. So that is to say that your immunity is deficient, and that state of deficiency, you have just acquired it. What has caused it? HIV. So immunodeficiency syndrome. Syndrome is a collection of things. So you have everything you can think about. Now, the diseases which all of us often have, and we fight and beat them, always, because God gave us an immunity, praise be to God, at that time start to flare up. That's where TB and HIV, they walk hand in hand like this. So literally, if all of us we checked well and people did immunostudies very well on our bodies, chances are high that they'll find with us that TB causing agents in our bodies. Like we have it. But praise God for the immunity that God gave us. It is there sleeping. It will never show up with TB. Except if you have very bad stress, immunity negenda once. Except if you are having diabetes, immunity negenda once. And except if you have a mighty HIV. And for HIV, it does that very fast. The immunity goes down, the sleeping TB wakes up. And there you are. You hear things of histoplasmosis, crypto what? Basawo banange muli luddawa temuliwo cryptosporidiosis. I have my basawo here. Yeah. Not cryptocurrency. So you will hear of things that for some junior basawos they have never heard about. But at that time they all flared up. Why? The defenders have been eaten away. Then everything flares up like that. So that is what the disease does. And so that is where the other gentlemen of Tarsus started from. They would fight the immunity, feed them well, and the body builds the immunity. The body build. But HIV was a winner always until ARVs came. ARVs come and kill the virus. Kill the virus. They only can't eliminate it out of the DNA. So keep it next to 0. The immunity is not different from yours and mine, who are okay. And then things be well. Anything else? Uh-huh. Looks like it's session ya mukadde n'omwami ono bokka. Let me make another disclaimer. They don't have HIV. I am sure they don't have. So don't start pointing fingers at them. Yes, my friend.
Hello? Okay, my question was, some are thinking about the child born with HIV.
Sure.
How long do they take to realize maybe all the signs we show? In case maybe a certain boy X is born in some village, they're not informed about all this information. How long does it take? Maybe do they realize now that signs are around the age of 20 years or what? Then the other thing is some conspirators I used to hear that they can change blood of somebody of HIV. They take out all their blood from the body and they give them fresh blood.
They give you fresh blood.
Then lastly, what happens when a normal person takes the ARVs?
What happens when you take ARVs as a normal person? You probably will suffer the side effects of the drug, like anyone else. They will have nothing to kill. Side effects of the drug. Not that they are going to be pronounced compared to the other person. In any case, you might even better, because some people who are HIV, by the time they start, then maybe the immunity is a little low and all those things. But said and done, if you take the medicines and you're okay, there's nothing that is going to happen for you. You're going to suffer what those people suffer when they take the medicines. If they have dizziness, you get the dizziness. If they sometimes, there are those ones which used to give them nightmares, but somehow the world of medicine is evolving, so somehow they get better medicine with time. So I think that drug is nowadays not as often as some few years back. You take it and you have really, really bad nights. But you would also get them if you took them. There are people who get some bit of nausea. You would also get them. There's one drug which used to make people's eyes become yellow. You would also suffer that. So you won't be spared from anything because the science is the same. So the drug will circulate in your blood. The difference will be that it won't find the target. So it will circulate. So what happens is it goes in the blood and the liver excretes the drug after it has done the work. That's why they keep repeating the medicine. The one you take today, by this hour, the next day it will be out of the body. So you take another one to keep the virus every time exposed to the drug. So when you take it, that's what you will get. Now, the other question was when a child is born with HIV. So when a child is born with HIV, and unfortunately no one notices that, the child will not take on milestones well. Like, you see how babies are born and they're supposed to be doing this at this month. So it depends on when, because as the child is born, the virus, she's come with it or he's come with it. It also depends on when the crossover happens. Because they can't get infected when they're still in the womb. They can't get infected at the time of delivery. They can also get infected when they are breastfeeding. So they are born without it, but at the time of breastfeeding, they get infected. So depending on when they get it, same story happens. The virus starts to replicate in the body, and when it has reached a given level, it starts to compromise the baby's immunity. So the baby will be sickly, and because it is a child this time, it will be a little more pronounced. You see how children have flus every day? So for that child, it will be a little worse. The flus are not going away. When they come, they don't just be simple flus like any child. It will be significant. When the child gets diarrhea, it will be a little bad. So oftentimes, if they are not realized early, they rarely make it to their 5th birthday. Yeah, unfortunately, if they are not realized. But if they are realized, they are enrolled on care, you meet them in adulthood as potential spouses when they are doing well. But so, in good antenatal care, the best for the child is to identify the mother. So when you identify the mother, you mitigate all the risk factors which potentiate her to infect the child. And when you do that, when the child is born, we follow up that child until we are safe to declare the child okay. So we follow up the child at about 6 months, I think about 18 months, and a little bit later on. But there are very many plans. There are people who choose that after I have delivered my child and it is safe, I assume it has survived getting infected when it is in the womb, I assume it has survived getting infected at the time of delivery. Therefore, I will not breastfeed my child. I am reducing the chances of getting infected during breastfeeding. So, if she survived those two possible exposure points, let me take away the third one. But there are others who say, I will breastfeed my child, but I will take all the other precautions, all other measures to still. So, with support, that is all possible. And the child will be followed up until it is declared okay. But unfortunately, if it is infected, then it is enrolled on care early, and that child will take through like anyone else. Take through like anyone else. Okay. Changing blood and okay, let's take Mukade as so we said HIV integrates itself in the DNA. So when we change your blood, there's a lot of that your DNA has. Your DNA is everywhere. So we are only taking away blood, but we've not taken away the cells. So HIV will still be there. You won't survive HIV. So people would be doing exchange transfusions every day. People would be doing what we call electrophoresis, if it was possible. Those ones, they are diseases which we treat by kusengeja blood. But with HIV, no, because it integrates in the DNA and you make your own blood every day. Our blood cells the red blood cells break down after about 120 days. So we keep making more blood. That's why if you get an accident and you lose blood, and they say, even if they don't transfuse you, within a few days your blood will be back. That means the body is manufacturing all the time. So the machinery is infected. Definitely what is coming out will be infected. So that doesn't help, sadly. Elder.
Two. One is, I think, a comment. The other one is a question.
Good.
Let me start with the comment of the question. The testing, do you call them testing kits or testing modalities? Whatever language you'll... Is that a friend who was pronounced HIV positive falsely? It happened around 2000, maybe 12. There was a certain clinic. He went, he had gone for malaria. This person tests HIV and tells him, do you know what? You have HIV. Now this guy goes into a depression for around 2-3 weeks or 1 month. And told me, I went there, they tested me, I'm HIV. So the guy was in stress. But we said, yeah, let's go and test in another place. And the guy was negative. We tested like 3-4 times negative. So that's one question. What causes that sometimes false results? The other thing is a testimony. Myself, I've lost 2 sisters to AIDS. One died in 1999, the other died in 2007. So when I speak of AIDS, I know how it feels. And even have other close relatives that have been affected or infected by HIV. And I think in Uganda almost every family is one or the other. So this child who was, the mother died. She was my older sister. She died, I think, when the child was like maybe 3 months. Or no, I think it should be like it should have been like 6-7 months. I don't recall. Because she died, I think that was 2007. The child now is grown, eh? But I was just trying to answer his question. How will it manifest? Obviously, we had a lot of stress how to manage this child. The child is crying for the mother. She was breastfeeding, actually. Before she got it through breastfeeding. I had a very stubborn sister who believed that she could be healed or something like that. So she defied. Even she didn't immunize their children. She was against all this kind of stuff. But now the child is an adult. She should be, think of above 20 years. So, but finally, there's another study that was done in universities. I don't recall, but they said AIDS was more prevalent especially in girls between 18 and around 22 years, 23 years in universities. I wanted you also to comment about that, because some of this is the youthful stage where the ladies look so ripe, they look so beautiful. Can you also maybe talk about that study briefly and then make a reaction to my comments?
Thank you. Maybe to put things in context, I used to have, I still have, I used to ask a few years back, ask yourself, as especially the young people in here, imagine young men at home, they know you, church grown, doing well, like mwana mulungi, mwana muwulize. And in the morning you were seated there, another young girl comes pregnant. You know her, we don't know her, but he says, period. She says that. By the time you prove the fact that whatever measures you will take, the emotional distress you will go through